Trust vital for your family's health.
We read and hear so much about low GI that I think we should go back to basics. And today in studio we have our favorite dietitian, Andrea Plessis from Vital, to give us the down low on low GI. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
Andrea, what is a low GI?
Well, if you look at foods that contain carbohydrates,
Yes.
sugars and starches, they are categorized in low, intermediate and high glycemic index or GI. And the higher the GI value, the quicker the food item is converted into blood glucose. So a low GI food is digested and absorbed slower and causes a slower increase in blood sugar levels.
Okay, now high GI foods, how do they affect your health?
Well, if you look at high GI foods and the typical foods we love to eat, foods with refined starches and sugars, some of them are high glycemic index. And in general, a diet that is rich in carbohydrate foods that are refined leads to obesity. And along with weight gain, you get high blood pressure, increased cholesterol levels, and an increased risk for diabetes as well.
That makes perfect sense, since eating high GI foods cause significant spikes of insulin in your body due to the abundance of glucose, which, as we know, can lead to diabetes if your body gets too used to these spikes. So are all high GI foods actually bad for you?
Actually not. Glycemic index or GI values wouldn't determine whether a food is healthy or unhealthy. If you look at the potato, for instance, it's ranked as a high GI food, but we know potatoes are really healthy. So what it means is if you are diabetic or if your blood sugar levels are not well in control, or if you have a problem with appetite, then it's not a good idea to eat a high glycemic index food on its own.
What are your top 3 low GI foods, and do you have any tips for our dietary habits?
Well, if we start with tips, and the potato probably being the best example, is here we've got a plate of food. We have mashed potato, which will be high glycemic index, but we also have chicken and vegetables. Now, consuming this whole meal would add fibers from the vegetables and protein and fat from the chicken, and that will reduce the average glycemic index of that meal, which makes it a lot more acceptable. Or if you want to eat a baked potato, for instance, one can add protein in the form of cottage cheese to reduce the glycemic index.
So if combinations of foods actually reduce the glycemic index?
That's right,
Of a balanced meal?
Of a balanced meal, certainly, yes. And over there, we've got lots of grains and starches there, and I think lots of people love white bread, but in general, the bread with more seeds and fibre should have a lower glycemic index. And with processed foods like that, it's good to look out on the label of the food item, whether it says low GI or not.
Okay. Now, what's your top 3 low glycemic index foods?
Top 1 would be definitely lentils, because it's one of my favourites. But lentils added to stews and soups would really help a lot because it's a low glycemic index food. Number 2 would be yogurt. So yogurt is also something really nice to add to grains and starches and cereals, if you look at a breakfast cereal, for instance, because plain unsweetened yogurt is definitely low GI. And here we actually have number 3, or maybe one of my favourites as well, Vital Original Muesli. It's low GI, as the label indicates. So it's been tested and shown to have a low glycemic index. So it's suitable for diabetics. And even though there are raisins in here, it's definitely still a low GI food. Since
you mentioned the top 3 low glycemic index foods, I'm going to have muesli with yogurt with lentils sprinkled on the top. How about that?
Well,
that's
good luck to you.
my new one. After the break, we turn up the heat on winter allergies and find out if our food is shrinking or supersizing.
Trust vital for your family's health.